Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a genuinely groundbreaking academic paper by Pedar Radonliev. It's going to completely change how you view a technology that you literally use every single day. We're looking at encryption, but, well, not in the way you might expect. Honestly, forget everything you thought you knew about why we hide information, because we're about to explore this fascinating intersection of math, history, and human vulnerability.
So when you hear the word cryptography, what instantly pops into your head? If you're like most of us, you probably picture, hackers in dark hoodies, hunched over keyboards, or intensely complex cybersecurity math, or maybe military generals passing secret codes during wartime. We've basically been conditioned to think of encryption as this cold, strategic tool for defense and conflict. And historically, well, there's a pretty good reason for that.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because tracing the history of cryptography, it's essentially a history of war and statecraft. Back in 1900 BC, ancient Egyptians were using non-standard hieroglyphs to hide military and diplomatic secrets. In ancient Greece, the Spartans used the scytale, wrapping parchment around a cylinder to encrypt battlefield orders. Then you've got Julius Caesar shifting alphabets to protect Roman legions, all the way up to World War II, where Alan Turing and the Allies cracked the Nazi Enigma machine. But we're going to get this traditional war-focused history out of the way right now. Why? Because the source material we're looking at today argues that we are completely missing half the story.
Section 1. Beyond Spies and War.
While the math of war is undeniably fascinating, there's a completely different, much more profound way to look at this technology. We're moving beyond spies, beyond the battlefields, and beyond typical cybersecurity defenses. Because here is the massive twist of our explainer today. Cryptography isn't actually just a cold tool for battle. The paper argues that it actually functions as a deeply human cultural technology. It's a socio-technical mechanism explicitly designed to protect intimacy. Seriously, it's about love, romance, vulnerability, and the human heart. It's the science of keeping a secret so that a private bond can survive in a totally hostile world.
Section 2. The Cryptography of Love.
To really prove this point, we're going to leave the modern digital age behind for a second and travel all the way back to the 18th century French Revolution. This is where the cryptography of love is put to the absolute ultimate test. The year is 1791. Paris is caught in the violent throes of the revolution. Queen Marie Antoinette is under intense, pervasive state surveillance by revolutionary authorities. And in the middle of this terrifying environment, she's actually carrying on a desperate, incredibly dangerous romance with a Swedish nobleman, Axel von Versen. If their letters are intercepted, the consequences aren't just a public scandal. It's literally the guillotine. Their desperate need to communicate forces these two lovers into some seriously sophisticated espionage. Notice this heavily redacted quote from one of their actual surviving letters held in the French National Archives. "I shall love you up to the death." Look at how the redactions instantly humanize the encryption, right? Modern paleographic and X-ray analysis has actually uncovered these hidden words. The erased, unreadable text basically acts as negative space. It's this powerful signal of hidden affection. It shows that secrecy here absolutely wasn't about military troop movements. It was an act of profound relational survival.
The Queen and Fersen didn't just hide their letters, they engineered them using 4 brilliant layered techniques. First, substitution ciphers, replacing sensitive names with symbols. Second, partial encryption, where they only enciphered the absolute most dangerous lines, so the rest of the letter looked perfectly innocent. Third, deliberate redaction, physically erasing words. And fourth, shared contextual keys, relying on inside jokes or prior agreements that literally only the two of them would understand. They were hiding their deepest emotions in plain sight.
Section 3. How intimate secrecy works.
Now, you might be thinking this is just some tragic, romantic, historical anecdote, right? But modern academics have actually formalized this historical romance into a rigorous theoretical framework that explains how all intimate communication works under threat. So, the crucial point here is this 4-component model of cryptographic intimacy. It proves the math of modern encryption is actually just a formalization of these exact relationship dynamics. The model includes exclusive sharedness, double audience, adversary ecology, and cultural scripting. Let's break down exactly what these mean for human trust.
First up, exclusive sharedness. This is the idea that intimacy is actually produced by the act of co-maintaining a shared secret that specifically excludes everyone else. The very effort it takes to encrypt a message to a lover, to agree on a code, to do the work of hiding it, that's an act of relational labor. The secret becomes a boundary around the two of you. The effort required to keep that secret actually builds the emotional bond itself. It's like a giant puzzle you build together.
Next is the double audience.
I want you to think about how you text your best friends versus how you text your boss. Now amplify that to a matter of life and death. Double audience means crafting a message that's perfectly legible to two completely different audiences at the exact same time. To a censor or a Revolutionary Guard, the letter just looks like boring everyday political chatter, but to the lover, it holds deep emotional meaning. Making a message legible to two different audiences at once without getting caught, that is the ultimate social survival skill.
Then we have the adversary ecology. We so often think of the enemy in cryptography as a single hacker named Eve trying to intercept your Wi-Fi at a coffee shop. But this framework clarifies that the adversary is an entire environment. For Marie Antoinette, it was the state, court rivals, informants, and even future historians. It's a complex web of people trying to strip away your privacy, and that ecology dictates exactly how heavy your encryption actually needs to be.
Section 4. Alice, Bob, and Romance. Now let's pivot from the 18th century back into the modern digital age, bringing in the most famous placeholder names in all of computer science, Alice and Bob. Whenever cryptographers invent a new protocol, they always explain it by saying, Alice wants to send a secure message to Bob. And this brilliantly illustrates how cold computer science terms actually perfectly describe the different stages of human trust and dating. In cryptography, symmetric encryption means Alice and Bob share a single secret key. Sociologically, this relies on pre-existing intimacy. They already know and trust each other, kind of like Marie Antoinette and Fersen. But asymmetric or public key cryptography is totally different. You broadcast a public key to the world, but only you hold the private key to read the replies. It acts as an invitation to a stranger. It's literally a way of negotiating consent and allowing someone to approach you without giving up your ultimate vulnerability.
This gets so literal that scientists at the University of Cambridge actually proposed a concept called romantic cryptography. It's a secure multi-party computation method that allows Alice and Bob to see if their romantic feelings are mutual without either of them risking the absolute embarrassment of rejection. The algorithm only reveals a yes if both people input a yes. Otherwise, it reveals absolutely nothing. Scientists are literally using algorithms so two people can avoid the pain of unreciprocated love. No way, right? That is how deeply intertwined human emotion and cryptographic math really are.
Section 5. The ultimate adversary. Time.
But as we move fully into the modern era, the biggest threat to this intimate cryptography changes completely. It's no longer just a sensor reading your mail in real time. I want you to really think about this question. Who is the ultimate eavesdropper? If you're sending a deeply personal text or a vulnerable message, who poses the absolute greatest danger to that intimacy? It's not a hacker. It's not even a government.
The ultimate adversary is time, specifically in the form of the archive. Think of technologies like the blockchain, which are designed to be a permanent, unchangeable public record. The paper argues that an unforgiving memory is structurally hostile to human relationships. Why? Because human intimacy absolutely requires forgiveness, contextual nuance, and the ability to move on. Intimacy is temporally bounded. A system that never, ever forgets basically destroys the safety required for true vulnerability. This is essentially the battle between forward secrecy and the blockchain. Forward secrecy is a cryptographic principle where keys expire quickly. If a hacker gets your key today, they can't go back and read the messages you sent last year. It's warm, it's protective, it lets past meetings decay safely over time, protecting your history. Contrast that with the blockchain, which enforces permanent, irreversible disclosure. It's cold, unyielding, and structurally hostile to the fundamental human right to be forgotten.
Let's see how this all builds together. When you look at the technical architecture of the internet, you're actually looking at a map of fundamental human emotional needs. Encryption isn't just math. It's the mechanism for selective vulnerability. Public keys are how we negotiate consent with strangers. Digital signatures are how we enforce promise-keeping and accountability across massive distances. And ephemeral keys, those expiring codes, they represent our deep human need for the right to be forgotten. Cryptography is a cultural technology that makes intimacy possible in a really dangerous world.
Which leaves us with this final, profound thought to carry with you. If every secure text you send to a loved one is actually an act of intimate cryptographic labor, a modern version of Marie Antoinette hiding her love from the state, then who ultimately holds the keys to your history? Next time you send a private message, remember, you aren't just using an app. You're participating in an ancient, deeply human tradition of protecting the people you love. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.